The last thing Elise Calloway did before she disappeared was make a phone call. She dialed the number at 2:49 a.m. The call lasted 4 seconds. When investigators traced the number 6 weeks later, the telecom provider came back with 3 words: never been assigned. Welcome back to Cold Frequency. If you're new here, we cover the cases that don't add up, the evidence that was ignored, the signals that got lost. Today we're walking through the full story of Elise Calloway, a 27-year-old who made one last phone call to a number that officially has never existed. I need you to stay until the end of this one, because the phone number is only half the story. Elise Calloway grew up in a mid-sized coastal town in North Carolina. She was the kind of person her neighbors described as radiantly ordinary. She taught 3rd grade reading, had a rescue dog named Pepper, and called her mother every Sunday without fail. By the spring of 2021, Elise had recently ended a long-term relationship. She'd moved into a new apartment 3 months earlier. Her friends said she was doing well, better than expected. But in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, her closest friend noticed something shift. Elise had started double-checking her locks. She'd asked her building manager about the security cameras. She'd mentioned, once, quietly, that she felt like someone was keeping track of her schedule. No one treated it as serious. Not yet. On the night of April 14, 2021, Elise was last seen leaving a local restaurant at approximately 10:15 p.m. She'd had dinner with 2 colleagues. Both confirmed she seemed fine, relaxed even. She mentioned she was planning to sleep in the next morning. At 11:42 p.m., she texted her mother, "Home safe, love you." Her mother replied with a heart emoji. That was the last confirmed contact with anyone who knew her. Then, at 2:49 a.m., Elise's phone logs show one outgoing call. It rang twice. The call ended after 4 seconds. When her mother reported her missing 2 days later, after she failed to appear for school and stopped responding to messages, the phone log was handed to investigators. The number Elise called had a local area code. It looked, on the surface, completely normal. But when the telecom provider ran it, no account, no registration, no record of the number ever being assigned to a person, a business, or a device. A phone call to a number that doesn't exist, made by a woman who was afraid someone was watching her at 2:49 in the morning. Investigators pulled a broader radius of surveillance footage from the area surrounding Elise's apartment. One camera, mounted on a parking structure 2 blocks away, captured a gray sedan idling across the street from her building's entrance between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. The license plate was partially obscured. They got 4 of the 7 characters. The DMV search returned 43 partial matches in the state. Only 11 were gray sedans. Investigators contacted 9 of the 11 owners before the case was deprioritized. 2 were never followed up on. Meanwhile, the phone number was sent to a telecom forensics consultant. The consultant's findings were unusual. The phone number format was valid. It would have passed standard validation checks, but it sat in a range of numbers allocated to a telecom carrier that had been defunct since 2014. In other words, it wasn't a random wrong number. Someone had used a number from dead infrastructure, a number that wouldn't trace back. Elise called someone who had deliberately made themselves invisible. Here is what I keep returning to in this case. When Elise's apartment was searched, her phone was not there. It has never been recovered. But her laptop was, and on her laptop, investigators found a document, a simple notes file, created 11 days before she disappeared. It contained one line, a phone number, the same number she called at 2:49 a.m. She had written it down 11 days before she called it. She knew the number, she'd been given it, or she'd found it, and she kept it. That changes everything about how we understand the call at 2:49 a.m. She wasn't dialing randomly, she wasn't misdirected. She made a deliberate call in the middle of the night to a number she'd been holding on to for nearly 2 weeks. As of this video, Elise Calloway has not been found. The phone number has not been publicly explained. The gray sedan has not been identified. What we have is this: a woman who was afraid, who had a number she kept secret, who called it in the middle of the night, and who was gone before morning. The two questions that will stay with me: who gave her that number? And when she called it at 2:49 a.m., did someone answer? I want to hear your theories. Drop them in the comments. The best ones I'll read in next week's video. If this case got to you, subscribe. Next week, a detective who worked cold cases for 22 years found a pattern nobody else had seen, and the department buried his report.